So good morning guys, my name is Aryan Singh and I am recording this video the second time. This is the second time I'm recording this video. The first time I recorded it till 40 minutes but what happened is uh, my charge was low on my laptop and it shut down, and so I didn't lose anything, but I still that I just went through the recordings and my voice was not good enough. So this time I'm using a different mic. This is a mic and a different camera too. I wasn't using any camera that time, but right now I am. So I'm making this video so that I can actually test myself if I can explain anything what I learned about JS in these 3 days that I learned through YouTube. Yeah, I learned through YouTube, and I'm an Indian, and so I learned in Hindi. That is not needed for you, but I'm just saying that I learned it and I wanted to test myself if I did understood anything in these 3 days that I learned it. I think I'm just going through what I can say and just repeating myself. So let us go right into it. So first I want to do is I want to explain about JS and its basic, and sorry, and then we will go right to a lead code for some problems. Those problems won't be that high level, but I was just wanted to check myself because I can write in Python, but I don't know if I can just write those in JS or not. So the basics are same in both of them. So let us go. So first, this is nodes I'm making in app flow. This is an app software app flow, and I'm using that to node about JS. So what the introduction is, JavaScript was named by and made by a guy called Brendan E. I have butchered it, I know it. I just whatever I heard from my mentor, I just wrote it like that. And it was named as JavaScript because it was earlier named as, I think, Mocha, Mocha, but because it was not popular because of its name, Java was famous at that time, so he just wrote it as JavaScript, and it is a scripting language, and that's why it is JavaScript. And I'm trying to learn it because I think it will be good for me to learn about it, because most of the things regarding websites are mostly developed with like TypeScript, React, Angular, Node, and extra. So that's why I want to learn JavaScript more. So let us go right into it, and let us discuss about the basics of JavaScript. So JavaScript, let us go through with first request is there's some request is that you need to understand. Like, it is basically it is basics of the JavaScript. So keywords are any word that are you can say that are meant something inside the compiler of JavaScript. So any word that means something for JavaScript is keyword. So it can be for, maybe like let, where, and anything like that, document, etc. So these are keywords that mean something to JavaScript, and these keywords are only used to access methods and you can say, yeah, functions. And you should never try to make any variable. I will tell what variable is, but don't ever name any variable as any type of keyword, because it will be confusing for the compiler to understand what you're writing. So variables, you can think of variables as a storage box. You just store any type of storing you need, you will use variables. And normally variables are just, I will tell what variables are and what other data types you can store in that. But in JavaScript you will store variables in with these three keywords. So var, let, and const. Where is an outdated one because it adds the data to window, that is irrelevant, but it is a function scope. This is important. So what function scope is, I don't know, I think I haven't said what a function is, but you can think of a block of code, and a block of code means a block of code. So I will tell you about this. So let us think from line 1 to line 8, some code is written, there, something, and till here, something till 8 lines, some codes are there. So these 8 lines are, you can technically say, these are block of code, And if you want to go deep into it, a block of code normally in JavaScript, it will be called an object, and an object is created with curly braces or parentheses. So any code written in this between these parentheses is a block of code. And because var is a functions code, it doesn't, you can say, respect anything except functions. So what happens is, if you write function inside, let us think an object, let it be a, and you will make object normally in let, with use let to make an object, and you just write a make a variable with a var. Okay, var is equal to 10. Here it is an integer, and you stored, let me write it. So b, you have made a b inside a object. What will happen is, because you have b var doesn't respect any type of anything except function, it will, you can access it even outside of that a. Normally in any language, if you make any variable inside any type of block of code, it will be local to only that block of code, and you won't be able to access it outside of it. But here, because var doesn't respect anything except function, it you can access. But if you did make a function out of this, this is how you make your function. And if you make a function like this, so it will work. You can't access b here, but for because if it is not a function, you will be able to, and that's a problem. So we don't use var anymore. There are more reasons that will we go through as we go on. And how you make a let, all the syntax means how you write the code is same for all of these different types of variables. And it will be a variable type like var, let, const. A variable name, let us think of hi, and is equal to, because we're assigning something value, assigning a value, and a value basically. So it can be an integer, it can be a string. String will be written in double brackets or double quotes, I think, and string. Okay, string can be anything. String is just a collection of characters, you can say. Okay. And the reason I'm not able to focus on the camera is because I'm being shy. I think so, but it is very hard for me to focus on the camera also because of a ring light. I'm just sensitive to lights. Okay, so if you are noticing it, I don't think no one will see it, this video, but still, I just wanted to clarify that. So what I was saying is, okay, so let, if you make any variable with let, you can modify it. Means if you make, like I have made a variable 10, but later if you want to add something into it, and that will work, a will become 11 here. This is increment. Increment means increasing by 1. That's it. There is a bigger meaning to it, but you can think of it increasing by 1, decrement decreasing by 1, and that's it. And so I'm incrementing here, and I'm adding 1, it will become 11. But if it is made with const, now because const means it is an abbreviation of constants, so here a is constant, and because of which you won't be able to modify it. Any variable made with const is immutable or unmodifiable. So any data, any variable is either initialized or declared. Declaration, initialized and declared. Okay, so here initialize is when you're declaring and assigning a value at the same time. Or you can say, whatever I did in this first line, const a is equal to 10 is initialization. If I hadn't assigned anything value to it, it would be declaration. Okay, so initialization is basically is declaration plus assignment. Okay, so now we will go with scope. You can skip it, nothing much there. Reassignment is just reassigning a value. I made a is equal to 12 here, but I just wanted to change, sorry, 13, but I wanted to change it to 12. This is reassignment, that's it. Assignment is assigning a value to a variable, and reassignment is reassigning the value to something, that same variable. Redeclaration would be redeclaring it once again. So here when I but Here is a catch, because redeclaration is not allowed at all. You can't redeclare any variable which is made with let or const, but it is allowed in var, and that's a problem once again, that you don't want to make a redeclaration. So you can think of it, yeah, I don't want it. I don't want you to use var, because if by mistake you redeclared a variable, let us see, let us think of a situation where you have a 1,000-line code, okay, a code of 1,000 lines, and a person who you can think of a person who a solo developer was there. He made a 1,000-line code. He made a variable a with var at the first line, and he forgot about it after 3 months, and he made a new var with the same name, and the whole code was made for an integer, but he made it into a string, and now the whole code won't work because he did that. That's what happening, and that's why we want some error here, because let and const will give error. It is not a problem, but var won't give any error, so that's a problem. So what is temporal dead zone, TDZ? So temporal dead zone, let us think, if you made a variable a at 9th line, so any this block of code from first line to 8th line would be temporal dot zone. Why? Because you technically you can access it. No, you won't be able to access it, but the Java compiler does know that it exists. So if I will show you it right now. So if I go to Firefox and I open my console, let me open it. My PC is not that good, okay, so please spare me. So this is okay. Oh, sorry, what am I doing? This will work. So I go to console and I just console.log. this is how you print an output to the console. I just write a variable a which is not my mistake, sorry, it is not, it will say that it doesn't exist, a is not defined, but I will do it once again, and I will just make let a is equal to 12. Here a has been initialized after its consoling, okay. So this should not be this should be a problem, because normally in any type of languages and any type of compiler this is not allowed. But here what will it say? Can't access lexical declaration a before initialization. It is not saying it is not declared, it is saying that you can't access before initialization, and this is this is also a type of error. You can say it is exception. In some language it would be called an exception, maybe, I don't know, I'm not good, okay. So this is what temporal dead zone is, and this is area. This area is TDZ, as it raises an error of missing assignment, not undefinition of the variable, sorry. So hoisting impact. So what hoisting impact is? It is related to TDZ once again, and it is saying that this happened. One more thing. This only happened with let and const. Var doesn't give this error. Var will just return undefined. If you do it here, let us see what happens if I made it with var. Okay, sorry, I will just change the name. Redeclaration is not allowed in let, yeah. So it is showing 12, not, sorry, my mistake, not undefined, but it will not give an error, and it will be allowed. So we don't want that too, and that's why we don't use var. So this happens with let and const. TDZ will happen with let and const cause of this thing that compiler does, JavaScript compiler does. What it will do is, let me remove this thing. So what it will do is, it will actually assign here, not initialize but assign, and the declaration part of the assign in initialization will be done at 0th line. So what happen is, at 0th line not even first, 0th line, uh, the actual declaration will happen. So let a, this will happen at 0th line, and at the line where we initialize actually will, assignment will be done. So whatever declaration actually does is it will assign a value which is called undefined. So undefined is also a data type that it is to default value of any type of declaration and initialization, any variable, sorry, not initialization, any declaration of a variable is assigned undefined as default. Okay, so there are two types of data types. Data types are types of data in the language. So there are two types, primitive data types and reference data types. So primitive data types are all predefined data types defined by the compile language. Reference data type are also defined by the language, but there is a simple difference, which is if you try to copy a primitive data type, normally you can think of numbers also are primitive data types, and I will tell the list of data types, but just let us go over this. What is the difference between reference and primitive data types? And it is that if you have a primitive data type and number is a primitive data type, and if you try to copy it like this, it will work. Now both A and B are independent, so if I decrement in B, it will not reflect in A. Okay, but if I declared a, let us think an array is a reference data type. So if I make a copy of array which is A here, I made it with let, we don't use var as I said, so I made it with let and I copied into a B variable. So if it normally it should be independent, both should be independent, but if I make, I know that you don't understand what I'm doing is, but if I just made the value different in B, which should be independent normally, it will reflect into A2. So this is what reference, and what is the difference between a reference and normal primitive data type. So reference data type doesn't make a new memory location but makes a pointer maybe. I'm just saying, you don't know what pointer and memory relation are, but you can think of it makes a reference to the original, doesn't make a new copy. Okay, so this is a gimmick, I can show it to you. So normally if you want to check any types of any data type of any data, you can just write type of a function and just write any type of data. A null is an object and nan is a number. What nan means is not a number. It is a abbreviation of not a number, but it is a number, and that's a contradiction, but it is true. And what from whom I learned about it is he said that it may be because nan is actually a expression between not a something that is not a number and a number. So undefined, you can see, yes, undefined. What is type of undefined? Let us see. Is undefined, right? If I try to add 1 in it, what will the answer? Let us see. Okay, it is nan, because you are trying to add number into something that is not a number. That's why it is giving a not a number answer, and it is a number because we were technically trying to add a number to something that is not a number. That's why it is not a number, it is a number. Let us go ahead because I think you were confused from what I said just right now. And type coercion means just converting data. Let us see what I will it is the automatic conversion done by the JS compiler. That's it. Okay, so this is a string, anything which is under double quotes, single quotes, and a back quote is string in JavaScript. Okay, so these are string. This is how you use, this is the syntax of string, and this is how you define a string. So here 5 is under double quotes, right? That is a string, that is not a number. So normally a string when it is added to a number is should give an array in every in Python and C and every languages. It will give an array, but here in JavaScript it will be give 51. How? So what happen is, normally in Python 2, plus means it is not only addition but something called concatenation. So concatenation basically is addition, merging of two different strings. Sorry, so my mic dropped it. Okay, so merging of two different strings is called concatenation, and here cause concatenation in JavaScript, I think so, is more it is prioritized more than addition. So that's the reason it will convert the number 1 to a string and concatenate. Okay, but if you say Aryan, just try to -1, then it will give a 4, because minus is only subtraction here. In Java, in every language too, minus is just subtraction. Okay, spelling is wrong, it's okay. So minus is only subtraction, there is nothing related to string, so that's why it is converting the 5 to -1. And Aryan, just try to make anything except number. Let us think and -1, it will get non number. Okay, nan. Okay, this is what happens. And let us go to next point. It is called truthy and falsy values. So truthy and falsy values is, it means is, every data type and data value in JavaScript is assigned either truthy, or assigned as a truthy value or a falsy value. So there are 7 types of falsy value, and everything except is truthy. So what falsy and truthy means that anything with this falsy value is will give a false, is means a false technically. No, not technically, we'll say if you are using condition block, a condition block is like if. So I know that you don't mean what that, you don't know what that is, but if means you're trying to let me show. So this is a if and else block. So in if and else box, you will give a condition. Let us think 12 greater than 1. Okay, so is 12 greater than 1? Yeah, true. So what you will do is, I forgot what I wanted to say. You will perform this block of code. Okay, the block of code that is between this parenthesis. Okay, here whatever is here will be performed, and if it is false, else block will be performed. Okay, so this is condition blocks. And in condition block, when your any value, if let us think this condition is not given, only 12 is given, because it is a truthy value, it will be a true, and only this block will be done, not this else block. Okay, so these are falsy values. Falsy will give false in a condition block, condition statements. So conditionals, my English is bad, I'm sorry. So falsy values are 0, null, undefined, false, nan, document dot all, and a empty string. So what is the difference between null and undefined? Undefined is a default value which is assigned by JS, and null is the intentionally empty value assigned by user. Okay, that's the difference between null and undefined. How do you take the input and how do you take the output? Output, as I said, is a console.log. It will give an output to the console, not technically an output, because in JS you're trying to make the whole website into something that can be an output too. But if you want an output at the console, this is how you do it. And for input, you will just take a prompt. This is the syntax of it. Let variable name is equal to prompt any statement like give me the number, and it will be shown in the console, and you have to enter a number, and that value will be saved to this variable. What are function? Function are just repeatable. Repeatable. So repeatable modules of any code. And in how do you declare those repeatable modules? What do I mean from that is, let us make a function before that. So let us see what are the declaration, then I will tell what modules means. So here you can declare in three ways. Either you will just write a function keyword, function name, adding something called parameters to beside it within brackets, and opening a parenthesis to write the code of it, block of code inside it. This is function expression, where you make use of let without and just write function name and just is equal to assigning a function with parameters and same thing. And here if you don't want to write this function, you can just write a arrow beside the parameters, a fat arrow function expression. This is what it is called, fat arrow function expression. So let us, I will declare it here and I will show why do we use function and what does module means. So I am making a function with let a is equal to so I made a function here where it will just console.log hi. Okay, so this is the function here. And if you want that, you want to, with this what you will do is, if you want to, this is a block of code that will not generally work on itself. You need to call it to make it work. How will you call it? This is the way how you call it. And what you do is, we use function because you want to, if you want a code to work many times, you don't have to write it multiple times. Even you just make a single block of code and you just call it every time you want the function to work. So let us think, every human in earth has a hand, right? 8 billion people has a hand. Function same. I'm not talking about the looks, I'm just saying the function. There are one joint is there here, one more joint is here, and these fingers are there. Everything works the same for every human. So you make a code for every human to work same, and just assign every human is you assign a function to every human for a hand, and it will work the same everywhere. So that's why we use function to make code more readable, more easier to code and everything. Okay, so let us go to parameters. Parameters are just the value that the function used or modifies. So any value passed here, like it will be value name, so val, and if you use that val here, like val increment, so this is, what is this called, this val here, this val is a parameter. Okay, and you need to call it with a value too, like I gave 3. This 3 here, when you're calling it, that parameter, it is called arguments. Okay, so what are rest and spread operators? Rest and spread operator are kind of, you can say, easier, it makes it easier to pass arguments and parameters, mostly parameter only. So let us think of, we have, I will just write a code here and I will explain it later. Oh, the code is written here only. So you can think of when you're calling and you have a function in there which is having a long list of parameters, and you don't want to write those parameters. You can see, as you can see in, well, I'm calling, I'm giving 1 2 3 4 5 6. I have written here, but I don't want to write in parameter block. What I will do is, I will give dot 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 val. This val can be anything, it is just a variable name, it can be anything, and it is doing something with this val. And this dot 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 is called rest operator. What it will do is, it will convert these arguments into a array. Okay, and it will pass it into this function, and you can work with that array. Okay, and if you want Rn, I want this 1 and 2 as a different independent variables, you can just write a comma b and comma give, and you just write dot 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 val, and the val will have all these rest of the arguments, as you can see 1 2, and this is how in console array will be shown. Okay, spread operator is just rest operator when used with array or object. What is first class function? A first class functions are one second, I'm just reading it. Okay, whenever a function is sent as an argument or as a parameter, it is called first class function. Whenever a function uses a different function as a parameter, it is called first class function. So here you can see in function which is named name1 has a parameter val, which is in itself is a function, and just when you're calling it, I am giving the function. Also, you can, what I can do is just make one more vac, and that is a function too, something like this. You can do this too and just write name one vac, and it will work. So here, just to reduce the size of the line code, you are doing this like this. Normally people will do that only. So you can do many things, but this is how this function, not this function, but this name function would be called a first class function because it is using another function as its parameter. Okay, what high order function is, whenever a function either takes in a function as a parameter or returns a function as a parameter, returns a function, it is called high order function. So technically first class function are also in high order function. Okay, what is the difference between pure and impure function? So a pure function is whenever a function doesn't affect any global values, it is called a pure function. So here, as you can see, it is consoling just hey, it is not doing anything with the outside values, so outside the function block values. So it is a pure function. Whenever here, as you can see, let variable is there made with let, and you're just incrementing it inside the function impure, and that's why this impure function is an impure function. Okay, what a closure is, this is kind of confusing, but I will just try to do it as easy as possible, explain it as easy as possible. So here there is a function called hello, and it has a variable name a with value 12, and it is returning another function which is using that a value from the hello function that is local to hello function, and you're doing something with it inside the returning function. So it means a function that returns another function which uses its parent function variable. Parent function is here hello. Whenever a function has a function whenever a function has a return function, repeat it, rewind. So whenever a function returns a function which is using the original function's local value variable, it is called a closure. Okay, so let us go to lexical scoping. It means it is not that hard, it is very easy. So as you can see, this is a nested structure of a function. What nesting means is you are just making some block of code inside another block of code inside another block of code, repeating that is called nesting. So this function is nested into this function. Okay, so we have a function called parent which has a variable a made with let, another function child made which has a variable b made with let, another function grandchild which has a let, which has a variable c with made with let once again. So here lexical scoping means that this a variable is available to the whole parent function code. So here also you can access it, here also you can access it, but this c is not accessible outside of this function. This c is only accessible inside this block of code, so you can't access here. So that is what lexical scoping means. It is not that hard. What if you is immediately invoking function expression? So it means that you just immediately invoke a function or immediately call a function when then and there where you made it. So this is how you made syntax of it is. You just make, you made a function where I made a factor, I'm making a factor function. Okay, so this is a immediately invoking function expression. So here what is happening is you just whenever you make it and you are invoking it or calling it at that time only, at that line only, it is called invoking function, if is in short. So here if you want, you can just add a variable here like a and B and move, go on, and just increment here 2, and you have to give the value 2. So there is no much not a lot of difference between this function and the normal ifs and what function are. So you can save this 2 into a, you can also save this into a what is called variable, and you can use it. Now basic difference would be when you make normal function like let b is equal to function, then you have to if b has c and you want to call b, you need to give value here while you're calling it. What am I doing? So here you will normally here at this point you will call the give the pass the argument, but here you can pass the argument here and you just need to write a and it will work. You don't have to write anything else, only a, and it will work like normal function. So that there is not much difference between those. And hosting difference between declaration and expression, I will just remove this. This is my confusion that I wrote. So hosting difference between declaration and expression, there is a big difference between hosting, between declaration and expression. We learned what hosting was. Hosting was a problem where you can call it before, even before its declaration. So it is not hosting, it is hoisting. Okay, so there is a hosting, and hosting is different things. So in declaration, if you hoist, it will work. Here you can see here calling the hello function, which is declared after its calling, but it still works. It is cancelling here and it will give in here. But here expressing, when you're trying to do this, it will not work. I can show it, but believe in me, it will not work. And with expression it will not work, and with for declaration it will work. Okay, let us not waste our time. Okay, so array in JS is heterogeneous. I have searched it and it is heterogeneous. What heterogeneous means is you can store sorry, what am I doing? So if we have a variable a is equal to like this, you can store a number, you can store a string, and you can also store boolean. I think I forgot what I didn't say. What are the different types of data types or primitives? So I will explain it right now. So there are some primitive data types like a number. Okay, numbers. Then 1 second. I'll just change the camera. Numbers. Then in JavaScript, numbers are also integers and floats. So both integers and floats are numbered. Okay, and string is there. Boolean any strings are just any types of what you can say, any sets of character are strings. So it's a sentence, either sentence, words, or paragraphs, all are strings. Boolean is just either true or false. Any truthy and falsy values are classified under Boolean. Okay, then there is big int. What big int is? A number, when it is stored, it will be stored inside computer, because computer has many switches. Technically computer is just a switch, and it has a block of storage block in bits. It will store every number in bits, and those bits are limited. So a normal storing value for a number would be limited, and to overcome that limitation, big int is used. It will go over that large number too. So I don't know that what is the size of that number, but it is there. And to overcome, if you want, like 8 billion people are there, I don't think you can store 8 billion number into single as a number. Okay, you won't be able to use because after If you go over that number, some error will start coming out. Okay, I think you can check what is the max number. Sorry, I don't know how to check it, but it is there. Okay, so on any other type of primitive data types, I forgot it. Logical, no, that is expression. Basically these three. Anything more than that, I will tell you about it. And what these are primitive. Okay, this is primitive data types. What is reference data types are arrays, objects, and functions. So these three are reference data types, and these three are primitive data types. Okay, so where were we? We were at array. So array is heterogeneous, where you can save different data types in it. You can even store arrays and objects and function inside a single array, and it will not give any problem. So here a array can be declared in two ways. Either you can use a square bracket, or also you can use a keyword new with this thing. This is a function, and with this you can make an array. So few methods inside an array. It is one of them is push. So what you do is, push is a method which will be used with a dot notation. A dot notation is, let us think a array is there, and if you want to use any function, you need to give it a dot here there and just write that function. Sorry, and this is how you use a function for an array. So dot notation, those are called dot notation. So you will use a dot dot push, and this val, it can be anything. It should be any value you want to add into the array. So push will add it at the last. It will add anything. If you want to add 6 after this array, you can add 6 by dot push. Here you can add push, and it will add 6 after this 5. Okay, so pop will remove this last value, and shift will remove the first element and shift everything to the left. So it will do is remove 1 and it will become 2 3 4 5. Unshift will is add a element at the first, and first shift everything to the right and add one value at the first. If you want a 0 here at the starting, you can just unshift, write 0 there in brackets parenthesis, and it will add 0, and then it will be 0 1 2 3 4 5. Okay, splice. So splice is interesting. It just means that you want to modify that array with using a function. So you can either add, remove, or anything like that. It will just it is removes count number, because count is here. It removes count number of elements starting from the end index. This is the syntax of this function: splice, index, count, and elements. So remove count numbers of elements. Elements are any value inside of an array. Okay, so removes count number of elements starting from end index, and adds number of elements from end index. So what it will do is, if you want to remove, let me see what I'm doing is, so if you want to remove 2 numbers from the first index and add 3 and 4, this is how you will do it. Our array, this variable array name arr dot splice 1 comma 2, 1 is the index 0, anything inside array will start with 0th index. So 0 1 2 3 4 5. So 1, this is 0, this is 1, 2 is 1, If you want to remove two numbers from starting from first index, so 2 and 3 will be removed, and add 3 and from the starting from first index. So it will do is the output will be 1 3 4 5 7. Okay. Slice is similar to splice, but instead of modifying the array, you will just remove a section of that array. So you can think a cake is there and you're removing a slice. That's what slice will do. It will take a slice of an array and store it into a different variable. You can store it into a different variable. So retains a slice of the array that have element starting from start index and to the end index. A reverse will flip the array. So if you try to do it into 1 2 3 5 7, it will become 7 5 3 2 1. Okay. Sorting is how you can sort an array. What sort means is either make the value into an ascending or descending or alphabetically ordering in alphabetic order or reverse alphabetic order. You can do that. Okay. Not reverse alphabetic order, but you can do that also. So this is how it is done. It uses a function as an input for that function. So what it means is, when it will return, as it will not do it, sort the actual original array, but it will return an array. So let ascending is equal to array arr dot sort in brackets a comma b, and this is syntax. You can write anything inside a comma b, but you need to write it like this only for ascending. This is a function we are returning a minus b. If you write here Aryan and Singh, you need to return Aryan minus Singh. That's my name, sorry. So hi and hello. So you need to write hi minus hello. Okay. For this descending, you need to write b minus a. Same thing, but b minus a. For each, it is a for specific function for arrays. So what it will do is it will work on each elements of that array. It just performs a function on each element of the array. Okay. So here there is an array arr is equal to 1 2 3 4 5. Okay. Arr dot for each in brackets minus, this is not I, and this is a function fat arrow function expression, and you're returning I plus 1. And what it will do is it will add 1 to each of these elements. So the answer will be 2 3 4 5 6. Output map is, it is same as for each, but instead of just I will show you. I haven't saved it, I think. So instead of it is same as for each, it will go through all of the elements, but instead of doing it into the origin doing that function into an original array, it will return another array that you need to save into a different variable. So that's the difference between for each and a map. Filter is similar to map, but here instead of doing something to that elements, you are trying to filter the data. So it is a filter. So what you will do is you want to have only the value that are above 3 in this 1 2 3 4 5 array. So you can just write this, and it will not give 3 on it, will give only 4 and 5. Sorry, I was so this is how you can use filters. Arr dot filter, and in fat brackets or in normal you can write this function too, like this. You can write function brackets I return I minus I greater than 3. This is also can be replaced with instead of fat arrow. So but I wrote fat arrow because it is easier to write it. It is easier to write that. Reduce, what it will do is it will reduce the whole array into a single value, and you have to make it you have to make a function for that. So here instead of giving a single variable, single parameter, you need to give two parameter. One would be accumulator, and that another would be the parameter that will go through each of the value of that element. So accumulator is just basically what you will save in which you will save the values to make it to make the whole array into single value. Mostly you can, what you can have is a product. The whole product of the array elements is sum of the whole elements, sum of the all the elements in an array, subtraction of the all the elements in an array, either division to, but that's the maximum thing you can do. So that's why accumulator is the accumulator is there. So return accumulator plus I. Here I'm summing, adding summation of the whole value in every elements of the array. So you need to give another variable which will be starting index, which will be given with a comma and after the function. So I'm giving here 0 start from the starting index, and you can write directly, you can write, but I'm just giving, I'm making a whole different extra line, but you can just write is 0 here. Okay, so find, it will find a value and it will return it. That's it. It will give either true or false. No, it will give true or false. I have written it wrong. So finds a val, if it exits in the end, can only return the first occurrence. Okay, so my mistake. It will give back the array, give back the what you are trying to find, but it will give only the first occurrence, not the second. So sum and every, these are last two different functions in the arrays. Sum function will return true if either one of the condition is true for the whole array. Whatever function you wrote will have a if block, not if block, but a condition, and that condition, if even one of the element passes that condition, it will be given it will give true as output. But for every, all elements should pass the condition, then only it will give true. So as you can see here, var greater than 2, because 3 is there, which is greater than 2, so it will just return true. And because same condition, but because every value is not greater than 2, it will give false. Destructuring. So destructuring is not that hard, but it is what, if you want to extract some variables and save them into a different variable, some elements of an array, and save it into a different variable with a different name, so that you don't have to call every time. This is how you can do it. As I think I didn't tell how to call a value from an array. So let a is equal to, and you can just write a bracket, and here's index, like I have 1 2 3 4, and you want to call the value from 0th index, you will just write a bracket 0, and then you will get the value. Okay, not that hard. So destructuring is written like that. So you want to access a and b, so it will only go from left to right, and how many index you have, how many variables you have written, those only will be given. So here I wanted the first and second value of the elements of this array, so I just wrote let, in a square bracket I have written the variable name a comma b is equal to arr. That's it. Now a is equal to 1 and b is equal to 2, but I want the fourth value and not the third value, but I want first, second and fourth value. So what I will do is a comma b, commas, give a empty value, or just don't write anything, just write comma once again and d, and you will get a is equal to 1, b is equal to 2 and d is equal to 4. That's how you do destructuring of an array. So spread operator is rest operator, but specific to an array, that's why it is called spread operator. So similar to the how you wanted to copy, like this is an example, you want to copy the first array, but you don't want to write every single value, just write dot 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 arr and it will copy it. Okay, so as we know that in ARR, copying just by assigning array to new variable doesn't work, because it makes a reference. As I said, it is a reference data type, and so it will make a reference. We will use spread operator to make a copy of that array. So here you have a array with name ARR and you want to copy it, but I made a new variable called AR2. I will use spread operator, that is triple dots and ARR, and it will make a copy. Okay, you want to you can use for it merging also. So you have two arrays with name A and B, you want to merge into a C, you will use spread operators dot 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 A comma dot 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 B and it will work. Okay, objects, this is the last section of this our whole basics, and we will just go to, you don't have to understand about DOM, we will go to LeetCode and we will solve on any 5 questions and that's it, we will close it today. And I will not edit any single thing, okay, because I'm too lazy to do that. Okay, so where we were at objects. I don't think we will need objects for what we are going to do right now, but let us understand what objects are. It is not that hard, basically same as function but not as function. So objects, you can think of, and it is not a function, it's not a function, not same as function, it uses the same parentheses but it is not a function, it is more similar to array rather than a function. So in array, every value will be accessed through an something called index. So the 0th index, it will start from 0, every time it will start from 0. So first index will be 0, first value will be given as an index 0. So you can think 0 is 1, 0 is 1, and 1 is 2, and here 3, 2 is 4. So for this array A, 0 index is 1, the value of 0th index is 1, value of 1 index is 2, value of 2 index is 4. Okay, but for if you want that Aryan, I don't want the 0 and 1 2 3, I want a name inside that, so you can make an object. So I want high as an index with value 1, I want it like this, I don't want that thing. So hello and 2, you can do you can make a object which will, this is a syntax of declaration syntax for an object. So here, instead of having a number as index, we will make a key value pair. Basically it is a dictionary from Python, and you can save values like this. So here, if you want to have the value of, you want to get the value of 0, you can just call it like this. So let hello. So not let, A is equal to P is equal to because declaration is not allowed, right? So you want to access 0 value, you can do this, sorry 2 value, I am doing it right now. So you want to access second value, you will give this key, everything before this columns are keys, and after that is values. So key, and you will get the 2 will be saved into B. Technically, what I'm trying to say is, so key value pairs, when you're trying to store values in key value pairs, it is stored with objects. Okay, either you can use dot notation, where you can also call like let C is equal to A dot high, and it will store 0 to C. It will store 0 because I have written here key is high and value is 0. Okay, so it is not possible to store the element key values as a variable if you use with dot notation. So what I am saying is, if you want to, what I was doing, okay, so what it is saying is, if you have a variable, let us think A, and okay, A, and it has a value of high, let me store it. So we are storing high into a variable b, where we also have high as a key for the object a, and you R and I want to, instead of accessing from with a coil dot high, I want to access with dot b. It is not possible with notation, dot notation. You can access it with this brackets, but not with dot. So you can write b here and will work. You can access it, but dot, not with dots. Okay, what is nesting, deep accessing, and destructuring? I have written all three in the single section because it is almost related to each other. So nesting is just the act of storing objects in another objects, while deep accessing is the accessing of the element from that nested object. So there is I have written an example. An object is there which has a location object, which has a location as keyword, and an object as a value which has city, some city, pin code 1 2 3 4 5 6, and a position, you can see in coordinates, and which has a longitude and latitude. So deep accessing, this is nesting. This is basically nesting. Deep accessing will be accessing this longitude. So let longitude, long is equal to object dot location dot position, because object dot location dot position dot lng. Also you can use that brackets too. It would be something like object brackets location position and lng, and this is how you can access through bracket notations. Okay, destructuring would be if you want to destructure these two values from these nested objects. You can just write let, in like how we did it in arrays, right? Parenthesis lng lat is equal to object dot location dot position, where those values are. Those values are stored in this position keys, so that's why we are writing till position only. So destructuring in objects are the same as array. It is just a method to store in object a value to variable, but the name of the key should be the same, or if any string with symbols are there, make the structure of the variable as object with keys as made. Okay, this is confusing, just leave it. We will go through it later, or I don't think I will go through it, but it is not that interesting to understand. So foreign, so what foreign does, it is not a whole keyword, but it is something related to it. So when you are using a for keyword for loops, I don't think I have explained it, but this is how you made loops. I didn't explain it, I haven't written in my notes because I know what it means. So for is a way to make a loop. A loop is a block of code that will repeat itself depending on the code you have given, depending on the condition you have given. So we are making a variable starting from 0, and then you want it to continue till that a is less than 30, and every time add 2 into it. So what this for loop is doing is, you are making a variable starting from 0, assigned 0, it will start from 0. Repeat this block of code, anything written inside of it. So repeat this block of code until a is less than 30, and if a become 31 or 30 is also, just don't do it once again. So, and every time you perform this block of code, add 2 to it. You can write anything here. I have written 2 here plus 2, but this is how for works. But for object you can do this too. For let key in objects. In is a keyword and what it is doing, it instead of just accessing with, because key doesn't have, object doesn't have indexes, so you can't write like for I let a, basically you can't use numbers, right? So how will the number increase, or how will because numbers, if a number is there you can add one, and because in array 0 1 2 3 is there, it will add one every time in for the index. You can just access it with for, in for you can access it easily with a number as a variable that is that you declare inside the for loop. But here, because we can't do it, because object only has keys, key value pair, and key can also be a string. How will you do that? So for that you will use key in pair, which will, what you will do is for is equal to for in bracket let key in objects. Object is a object, obj is object, console dot log key, and you just do anything with it. That keys are the keys, this is key and this is value, so key value pair. Sets, a collection of key value pair is an object. Okay, you will only get key here, but you can get the key value and value too, key and value from this foreign function. Okay, so there is also a function called object.keys. If you try to run it in the console, it will give all the objects, all the keys of that object. Object.entries, it will return a array tree like structure which has in multi-dimensional array which has all the keys and values in, which will be paired like this. So see, in object obj we have made a key value pair of var1 value 1, var2 val2, var3 val3. Okay, so here the when you trying to when you run object.entries obj, it will return this. This is a 3 length array, multi-dimensional array, which has one array inside of it at 0th index, which is has 0 at 0th index var1 var1 var2 val3 val2 and var3 and val3 var3 and val3. I think my words were confusing here, but if you say it you can understand what I'm saying. And there is also a different function which is called object.assign, is a method. It's a method to merge an object to another object, but it can achieve with spread operator, so it is not used. So you can merge a different object into another object. Basically what it does is you can make an empty object at the first position for this function, and after comma you can write your own object, and it will add it into the first this first object that you write. So you need to write value here, key value pair here manually, so that's why you don't use it. It is not recommended for merging and everything, because you can use spread operator. So deep cloning is, this is a spread operator is not, you can say, omnipotent. It will not work every time. So when you have a single level object where it doesn't have any more nested objects, when you use spread operator it will work perfectly fine. But when you have a nested object inside a different object, so what will happen is, for this 3 key value pair it will work perfectly fine even when you use spread operator. So it means that this new object, and you change anything inside that, it will not reflect in the original object, it will not make a reference. But for these nested objects, even after using spread operator it will make a reference. So if you change here like object.var4 and vary1, you change the value, it will reflect inside the original object. Okay, so that to bypass this we will use something called few steps. So where you use first json.stringify, you will do these 2 steps basically. So json.stringify obj, here obj is there, so that's why it will convert the object into a string. Okay, any object you have, it will be converted into a string, and then dot parse will convert that string to an object. Okay, so this is and because of we are making parse, json.parse, it will make a new completely independent object with which has no reference to the original object. So this is how deep learning is done. And optional chaining is somewhat important. So let us think you trying to access something and access a key value pair that doesn't exist in the object you have made. So normally it will give an error, but let us think you have a server which is saving the data in objects, and because of network error you're trying to access something that has not arrived to the server, but normally it will give an error, and that's a problem. So to bypass this, we will use option chaining, where we will add a, what is this called, question mark before your dot notation, and this will not give an error, instead it will give an undefined. So again, you don't will not get an error and will not have any issues. So computed properties, it just means that you can use bracket notation where if you want a key to be stored somewhere else in a different variable, and you can just use bracket notation to have this var3 here. Technically var3 is here. When you try to run it, it will give var3 here. So this is how it is done, and this is the end. After this, it is some level 2, it is not needed for us. So this is whole basics of JavaScript, and now we will go right through. So we will go right into a, what is that called, lead code, and try to run some programs so that we can identify if we did it right or not, if we learned something or not. Okay. I'm using Zen browser, by the way, if you are wondering what I'm using. I don't think anyone will see this video, but still, if you stick with me, please subscribe. Don't subscribe, I don't care about it. If you want, you can give me money, okay? If you want, you can give me money. Oh, I'm using, I will show my specs so you don't know, you will understand why it is very laggy. This. It is 8 GB to 56 GB ROM with an Intel Celeron graphic cards, not graphic cards, sorry, processor, and a USD graphic cards. Nothing else. It is a very low end laptop, that's why it is very laggy. This is not needed. We will shift in the first block, and we will go through the two sum because it is very easy question, and we will try to solve it in JavaScript if it is possible, or else I will copy the question and I will solve it in my own editor. Okay, I will go only two questions because I'm very lazy right now. I wanted to learn more or write my assignment, but I'm making this. Yes, there it is, JavaScript. Where to some function return, we need to return a value. Okay, so the question was, given an array of integers nums and an integer target, return indices of the two numbers such that they add up to a target. So we have a target, we have an array, we need to find the indexes at which those, when you add those index values, you will get the target value. So first what we will do is we will go through each value of that array. Okay, so return nums for each No, we will not use this because we need the index, not the value. So we will use for let I is equal to 0 comma I less than nums dot length comma I plus plus and now we will go through the if we will start from 1. Okay, nums I plus nums I minus 1 is equal to target return I minus 1 comma I. This should work. Constraint, so only one valid answer exists. It should exist and this should work, I think. Okay, wrong syntax, sorry. Here it will be like this. Okay, okay, built-in function, you don't have to write a function in bracket. Okay, I'm not aware of this thing, I haven't done it yet, so that's why. So you can search it and this is working, yay, we did it. So this is how you do it, and if it was in Python I could have done it very easily. Okay, okay, my mistake, really my mistake. What I am doing is just adding the index and the first index and the index before that and trying to get the answer, but my mistake. So instead of using this I will need to make another for which will start its value from I and j is less than nums dot length once again comma I, so j plus plus, and we'll save it here. So this is how it will work, but because we are using that nums dot length 2 times, to optimize this code we can store that length into a different variable. So this is how you make your whole code more optimized. Whenever you see that you're repeating something, any calculation is being repeated, just assign it into a different variable. Simplest way of getting a low time complexity, sorry. So this should work. see, it did work. It is not that runtime efficiency. So because there is a method where you can just check whether, if you see, what we are doing is we need to check. I will show my, I will start to open my R notes. I want to check if you have a number target like 9 and you have a array with value 1 comma 2 comma 3 comma 4 comma 5. See, you know that 4 plus 5 is 9, right? But instead, what in my code what I am doing is adding every value to this different value. We are using do for loop, that one, first one is starting from the 1 to 5, second one is starting from only 2 to 5. Okay, so it will add 1 plus 2, checking whether it is 9, 1 plus 3, 1 plus 4, 1 plus 5, then 2 plus 3, 2 plus 4, 2 plus 5, and 3 plus 4, 3 plus 5, then 4 plus 5. That's the ending, and that's the problem. So instead of doing that, if I was in Python, I would have done it very easily, but here I don't know how to do that. But what everyone will be doing is subtracting the value 1 and checking whether the value of this subtraction would be in this array. So 9 minus 1 would be 8. If 8 was there, 1 plus 8 should be 9, and that you will get the index of those values. And how will you get the index? There is a function in Python, that's how you get it. So 2 and 3 and 3 and 4 and 4 and 5, like 9 minus 2 will do 7 is there, then the answer is done. 9 minus 3 6 is there, then the answer is done. 9 minus 4 4 is there, and you know that 5 also exists in this array, so you get the 4 and 5 values. So that's how these people are doing it, but I don't know how to do that. Do you want to go to the next question? I don't think so. I have proved myself that I learned it perfectly, and I have teased you all. So that's what was my video was, and thank you for watching. And I don't think I will make a new video, but if I do, please watch it once again. Thank you.